You know what? I've never been a big fan of the cheap Android tablets. Although I'm an Android user myself, a cheap Android tablet is usually slow, buggy, and pretty much on the verge of dying. But just when I was thinking about a competent, cheap, affordable tablet that will get the job done, Apple was not on my list until I found this. Now, when it comes to tablets, I very much like everybody else. I would love a big screen that gets the job done for when it comes to media watching. But at the same time, I wanted something that I could be very productive with. Something powerful enough for me to be able to edit videos on, something I could create content on, jot down some notes, doodle around the way. But I was also very aware of the fact that that big screen is going to take the productivity out in a few days. So if you're someone like me looking for a great bang for the buck that checks all the right boxes for what a big tablet should be, well, I suppose I've got something for you. And hopefully, by the end of this video, you'll either be looking for something on eBay or be questioning all your tech decisions. Hopefully not. Well, we'll see about that. First, let's talk about the sad truth about the iPads in 2025. The worst spec iPad in 2025 costs about 349 quid, and that runs on an A16 Bionic chip. That's not a chip that came out with the iPhone 16 or the 15, but it's the same chip that runs the iPhone 14. And it borderline seems like a scam to me. But this thing runs on a processor that was also used in a revolutionary MacBook Pro. And I'm talking about the M1. For the people who don't like to get into much of jargon, let me dumb it down to you. Now, the A16 is like a reliable Honda. It takes you from point A to point B with no problems, maybe a bit slow along the way, but it gets the job done. But the M1 on the other hand is like a turbocharged beast. The M1 has 8 CPU cores compared to the 6 on the A16, 7 GPU cores versus 5, and this thing for about half the price of a decent spec iPad in 2025 just makes no sense to go for something brand new. And here's the kicker. The M1 isn't just good enough, it's great. I'm actually running the iPadOS 26 beta on this thing and it's buttery smooth. I edited videos on it and it's smooth-ish, provided you're not editing full 4K native. Then I run multiple apps using the new multitasking windows on the new update, and this thing doesn't break a sweat. Meanwhile, the 2025 base iPad, well, I don't have one, but if the performance is anything close to this, I will be surprised. Now let's address the elephant in 2025. You want 120Hz ProMotion, quad speakers, cameras that can see through dimensions, and bracket rights. Well, sure, absolutely, but let's talk reality for a second. For under 350 on the refurbished market or under 270 in the second-hand marketplaces, you aren't really buying luxuries, but you are buying leverage instead. While you still get super powerful quad speakers, which is absolutely fantastic on media and decent cameras, you do get Touch ID, which is obviously the better form of security, at least personally. Now let's say you're a student drowning in debt. Would you rather buy a decent spec iPad in 2025 for 450, or would you rather get a 2022 iPad Air M1 and still have enough money left over for a Big Mac meal every weekend? Or if you don't want to have that, how about for an Apple Pencil? Although this might be the original one, but how about you save enough money to get not only an Apple Pencil, but also a case? Well, I might have some links for you to check out in the description down below. I did review one of those knockoff iPad cases back in the day. I say back in the day, but it was just a few months ago. And that thing is actually sick if you want to go for a MacBook on a budget using an iPad. Make sure you check it out. Now, is the 60Hz display really that jarring in 2025? Well, I would say that depends. If you're coming from a ProMotion display from an older iPad Pro, of course, it's like swapping a Tesla out for a Toyota. But at the same side, if you are coming from that side, I don't know why, but it will only take a few minutes of adjustment, and the moment your brain rewires, you're looking good. But if you're not, if you're still coming from a baseline iPhone or a baseline iPad, you are probably still used to the same level of smoothness of the screen. Because no matter how recent or how old you go, the iPads, at least the base models as of recent, still have 60Hz displays. So this will feel right at home. Now let's talk about who this actually matters to. Are you a pro video editor? Potentially. Are you training AI models on an iPad? I hope not. But are you a student drowning in debt? Or maybe a parent just looking for Netflix and maybe checking some emails? Or maybe you're just an artist trying to prep some concept art on the go? Or perhaps just someone looking for a very capable media and gaming machine? This is your holy grail. So imagine this. You're in class with an iPad in your hand, trying to take some notes with a DUPE Apple Pencil, and a duplicate case for the iPad with a keyboard attached to it. Maybe you paid £30 for it, 20 for the pencil, total of 50, spent about $270 in this, and at this point, you pretty much got yourself a mini MacBook for less than £350. If that's not saving some money, I don't know what is. Now look, I could be a go-to guy for cheapskating because I do love to cheapskate quite a bit, find alternatives to expensive tech. One thing I completely understand is never ditching performance for the sake of price. If you can get good performance where it's necessary to spend the extra money, I'm never going to ask you to not spend the extra money. But in this case, it's just a pencil or a case that connects via Bluetooth, gets the job done. It gets the job done. So don't need to spend the extra money. We don't need to spend the extra money. When it comes to an iPad, very much like this with the M1 processor, it just makes sense not to go for something newer because the performance gap between the new and the old is not as big as you might think. And maybe you're not even ready to take full advantage of what these new iPads have to offer. Maybe even this could be an overkill for you. But if you don't have to spend that extra money, repeat after me, you don't have to spend that extra money. But what about the cameras, the looks, the vibes? Well, look, if you really need all of that, if you maybe can shoot some Oscar-winning shots on your iPad or be a part of a rooftop DJ club, then of course, go ahead and get yourself the iPad. It just makes sense to do so. But at the same time, even with the iPad Pro, for 95% of the users out there, it is quite a bit overkill. I don't think I've personally met anybody with an iPad who's using it to the fullest. In 2025, companies don't want you to look for the older, decent tech, but rather they want you to look at the newer tech. They want you to get addicted to the newer stuff. And then you try and jump on the bandwagon, firmware kicks in, wallet's empty, and the only thing satisfied is the company itself. Now with all the frauds and stuff of this iPad, with the thicker bezels, not being the latest and greatest generationally, and not having all its support life left, is it still better than the base model iPad from 2025? Absolutely. Is it going to tick all the boxes that you're looking for? Most likely. And is this going to be an even sweet deal in the coming months? Absolutely. By no means is this going to be the best iPad to get in this year, because the new ones do exist and they do exist for a reason. But for value of money, you cannot go wrong with this. Now, for my personal experience and wrapping this whole video up, when I was on the iPad store trying to look for a newer, bigger iPad, it just felt like I was paying a lot of money for something that I already have. Now with this iPad and the newer iPads I was looking at, the only difference I could feel was the smoother screen with the 120Hz display. But other than that, I felt like I was about to dish a lot of money out for something that I already have at home. And with that feeling, I really can't justify spending a lot of money on a new iPad. So while I will continue to use my 2022 iPad Air M1 for the foreseeable future because it still gets everything done for me, I don't think I'll be switching anytime soon. But what do you think? Do you think you have an older iPad and you would make a jump to this if you really need it? Or do you really think that everything I was saying is a bunch of bull? Well, let me know in the comment section down below. I do read all the comments, and I will catch you guys later.